Get Warrior Tough, Mental Training 101 with Andrew Wittman and Dutch Coleman. And now back to Andrew and Dutch.
All right, we're back at it. Dutch and Andrew and Dutch, Get Warrior Tough, most monumental hour in media anywhere. All right, Dutch. So we were talking about the U.S. swimmers before the break, talking about Michael Phelps and Ryan Lochte, another old guy. Go old guys. I love to see it. Now, I will tell you this, right? So I'm watching this. The U.S., our athletes are staying, they're in there longer. I mean, you look at like the women's volleyball, the beach volleyball, what's her, Carrie Walsh Jennings, right? They're older. They're staying around longer. And I think this is a testament to what in America with our athletes, we know how to eat right, how to manage our stress, how to manage the work-rest cycle, right? And we're clean. Right? Shout out to Lily King. I love that girl, man. She called out the Russians. You drug cheat, right? Like so, and we're clean. So we're doing all, you can do it right and you can do it for longer. And we're seeing that play out. It's science, and the science behind it is working. And if it works for these athletes, it'll work for you in your everyday life in managing your stress and being healthy and knocking out your own targets in business or personally, in relationships, in your health and fitness. So I just love it. I love watching this stuff, dude. It's a confirmation and a display of all the science and stuff that you and I study.
Well, I tell you, I got to add this too. She was asked about the Americans, the statements that she made, the harsh statements that she made with respect to cheaters. She was asked if that would apply to Americans that cheat as well, and she said yes.
Absolutely.
And so
because
she
cheaters are cheaters, right? And I don't know why that's a harsh statement. And this, man. Now you got me. Don't get me ranting now, Dutch. I'll tell you what. Like I don't understand. Like first off, the Russian was waving her finger, and then. Lily was just waving her finger in the back. She wasn't. She was waving her finger back to you watch it. She's not showing for the camera or anything like that. So of course, then the journalists have to point it out and make a big deal out of it, right?
Right.
So and then they ask her, and then she tells her, "Hey, man, you're a drug cheat. I'm not a fan." Then that whole thing blows up. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe she said these harsh things. She said, "What? You are?" I mean, the facts are that swimmer was a drug cheat. I mean, she's busted twice in the last year. I mean, the whole country of Russia has been busted.
Yeah, now we can talk about Russia and her focusing on them. I'm in agreement with her 100%. I think the harsh part came in when she said that basically if anyone cheated, that they shouldn't be able to compete anymore ever. And we know that there's been situations where people have taken supplements not intending on cheating, because you know how the banned substance list is and all that. So having an appeals process, and I do think having a penalty, because I think being 2 years out of competition is a stiff penalty for a first-time offender, because a lot of times you're not coming back from that. But I do think a lifetime ban on the first go-around might be a little harsh.
Right, and that's kind of a sand trap. I mean, the point I'm making is, why are we so upset that she said factual things like, "I'm not a fan of your drug, you're cheating"? She didn't slander this chick. She didn't slander the Russian. She's cheating, right? I mean, it is, right? You are. It's a fact. It's not my truth. It's not my opinion. Why are we afraid to call cheaters cheaters? Why are we afraid to call terrorists terrorists? Why are we afraid to call criminals criminals? I don't get it, man. Like I totally do not get that. Why would the only thing that we're intolerant of is we're only tolerant of intolerance. Like if you're like, I don't get it, man. I just don't get it.
I may be mistaken. The conflict came is when she talked about the penalties, not that she called her a cheater, because of course everyone in America agreed, obviously, with the cheaters. But when she went further about the harshness of the penalty for anyone that's ever done anything, because we know the Russians in different situations. You're talking about, doing it multiple times.
You called it state-sponsored cheating. It sounds like state-sponsored terrorism, state-sponsored cheating.
Absolutely. That's exactly what it is. Now, that should be dealt with harshly, but I think she may have rubbed some people the wrong way when she said the first time you should be done.
Okay, but and she did. So what? Who cared? Like, are we really that offended? You know what I mean?
Well,
like, I don't get that,
offended. Man. It's not about being offended. It's about offering a counterpoint. And I would offer a counterpoint to that. I would say I love the 2 years penalty, because most people aren't coming back from 2 years in these Olympic type sports. If you're out of competition for 2 years, you're not coming back. So that's enough threat. But I do give some give some leeway to the people who this it might have been a mistake. Then hey, if you want to come back after 2 years, you want to bust your tail and do.
Yeah, she's not on the board. She's not making the rules. She's not on FINA. They asked her a question, she answered, and then it's like we all get blown up. Like, so I don't get the whole. I'm telling you what, our culture and our society is sick. It's like the people that got offended when the guy talked about Simone Biles, said it's her grandfather and his wife, and she calls him mom. All factual, which we just saw the story, and Twitter blows up from all the adoptive parents how offended they are that he said that. Dude, what he just said was factual. That you took offense to that, and now this is a huge thing. We are sick. And then I don't even want to bring up all the political candidates every time they open their mouth. One's a short circuit, the other one's talking about Second Amendment, and everybody's blowing up over this. Dude, we're in a powder keg because people cannot control their emotions and they can't think how they think their thoughts. There's no process. It's just knee-jerk.
I think if you are putting your opinion out there and people are getting offended, then you can't get offended when people offer a counterpoint. And I think that's what's happening with her. People offered a counterpoint. They didn't say you're wrong, you're a horrible person. They offered a counterpoint to her saying that they should be banned for life for the first time doing it. They should never be able to compete again. So that's an awesome point. That's an opinion. So then people said, I don't agree with that. I think it should be this. So then she can't get offended that someone disagreed with her point of saying.
I didn't know that she was or not. I didn't see anything about that.
No, she probably wasn't. But people were acting as if other people disagreeing with her were like losing it. Like, no, it's just a counterpoint.
And it's all and again, assumption after assumption, truth after truth, perception after perception, and people get offended when you deal in facts. And this is so why we are in the sand trap in this country, because we only deal in truths, we only deal in opinions, and the facts even if the facts are presented to you, you'll still say no, they're wrong, and you're sticking with your truth. Like, don't confuse me with the facts, man. Don't confuse me with the facts. And this is why we're in big trouble, dude. As a country, I'm telling you, we're in big trouble, big trouble.
Well, I hope not. I think as a country, we've been through some pretty bad things, and I think we've come through. It's just hard to see when you're going through it. I think we'll see this through just like we've done everything else.
I hope you're right, man.
I'm not as concerned. I think it's just going to be yet another challenge for the nation. And again, we've gone through some pretty bad things in our history. If you look at it, and if you look where we are now, we're still ahead of the game from where we used to be. It's just sad that we haven't gotten as far as we maybe should have gotten, but we still have advanced some.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. But I'm just, there's no way that we should be getting offended over just every little thing. And I'll tell you, everybody is looking to be offended. People are looking to be offended. They're looking for the gotcha. I'm looking to catch you saying the wrong. Aha! And that's like, and I know we do this every political season, but now it's bled over into the Olympics, and it's just it's disheartening to see it. Disheartening. Yeah.
I'm not as I hadn't gone that far down the road yet. I still think it's just because I haven't seen anything that's substantial in the discussions of anything that's been going on. I think people.
Well, that's my point. That's my point. There is no. If there is any substance, we discard it. As we discard the facts, we discard logic, we discard a logical argument that's based in evidence and facts. There is no substance. It's just chucking Molotov cocktails at each other.
Let me ask you this: in industry and in corporate America,
yeah,
people use their emotions and people get hurt. Money's lost. Jobs are lost. A lot of different things happen in corporate America where we go in and people are making emotional decisions. With respect to the discussion surrounding the things we're talking about, nothing substantial is coming from these discussions. It's just fun, sometimes hurtful sayings to one another on both sides, but there's nothing there's nothing happening with this. This is a bunch of talk. Like what Lily said was her opinion, and then the counterpoints was their opinion, but no decisions are being made around it. So it's just a bunch of people talking about things that doesn't really matter. So it's just conversation. So what we deal with every day, there's actual damage being done.
Right.
There are people losing jobs. Their jobs being taken overseas. There are people fighting in the workplace. There are people that are getting sick physically because they can't deal with what we call very trivial things.
Right.
Yes. So this is where we come in. So Yeah, I wish it was a bunch of, irrelevant discussions about sports that was driving the world, because then we can just let it go. We can,
Well, that's why.
at the end of the day, we can let it fly
right,
away.
but you and I know it's not that, and that's why when it bleeds over to this pop culture level, I'll say it like this, man. If the cab driver is telling you to buy a certain stock, right, and that's the word on the street, that if it's gone all the way to the cab driver and he's giving you a stock tip, it's time to get out of the stock market because the thing is over, right? So if it gets to pop culture, it's already permeated. It's at the peak of where the thing is going. And I think we're at a boiling point with this because people are just, even something stupid like sports, and I'll say stupid because, like you said, there's no consequences. It's really just we're getting offended to get offended for offense's sake. And in the Olympics, for crying out, Olympics used to be a place where it was like, yay, the spirit of competition, and let's all come together, and blah, it ain't like that.
Right.
Now we're getting offended over it.
Yeah, I still think it's I think it's much ado about nothing. I think it's I think at the end of the day, there's still a large segment of the population that doesn't know anything about what we're talking about. When you're dealing with things like jobs and the economy and all that stuff, that's where we step in and we say, hey, this has to stop. But there are a lot of people who don't know who Michael Phelps is. Unbelievably, there are a lot of people who don't know who Lily King is. They'll never know who she is. And so all these opinions about doping, it's fun to talk about for us. But again, I think our impact comes in the workplace, because these things that people talk about with sports, they'll never go away. If I root for the Patriots can be completely wrong. The fun goes in me defending my team.
Right, and I agree with that. If it stayed at sports, right? It used to be that sports you could do that without consequence. The problem is that people don't leave it at sports. It bleeds over into the economy, it bleeds over into public policy, it bleeds over into law enforcement relationship with the community, and vice versa. It bleeds over into foreign policy. It's not contained to sports.
You think it's going in that direction?
Absolutely, it is. I mean, you can just look at what's going on, man. I mean, the facts are the facts. I'm not making them up. I mean, you just see what the facts of the behavior is, and
Right. No, I'm not questioning that. I'm questioning whether we know where it begins and where it ends. Because if you go back to the beginning of time, in human nature and human emotions, like we always talk about, the science, has always been this way. So I would argue that it's going to always be in sports, and it's going to always be in all those other things as well. Because as long as human beings are involved, especially untrained human beings, this is what you're going to get no matter what it is.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I just think it's ratcheted up, dude. It's ratcheted up. It used to be on the playground, you could get into a fist fight over your sports team or whatever, and you go to detention, it's over. Now, and I deal with this across the country, I have clients where I deal with this, that it's gang fights and it's territory. And if you wearing the wrong sports colors, they take it as it's the wrong gang color, and it will get you killed.
So now that's what you're dealing with now. That's what I was dealing with as a kid.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. So
that was my world back in in the late 70s. So
right. What I'm talking about then.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the only difference now is the world has opened up from a communication standpoint, where people are more aware of what I'm going through. But I was always going through that, but now people are more aware of it. I'm more aware of what's going on down the street in the next neighborhood, when it was always going on, but now I'm more aware of it. So you get overwhelmed with all this information. And it seems like it's the end of the world, when a lot of these things have always been going on, but now I have information overload because I can't deal with the fact that all this stuff is going on everywhere. Like, oh my God, this is crazy. Is all this stuff happening at one time? Well, it's kind of always been happening at one time, but you only had to deal with
but we give it a different place now, and this is what you're saying. Information overload, we give it a different place. We're giving it a higher value in our society. We're up on a break, Dutch, but we'll be right back. We can pick this up when we get back, man.